songs. It's a night we're proving wrong that it's a better life. It catches me, don't care.
Hello, singers, guitar players, acoustic guitar players, people that use microphones, saxophone players, harp players, piano players that want to distort. I don't know. All of you people that use microphones, which are, you know, these things. On Facebook, I saw a green thing and I comment, hey, that looks cool. Honestly, I had no idea what it was. And then Mr. Green Thing writes me back, Mr. Eben Grace. And he says, hey, I follow your channel. I'm like, oh, he knows how to butter me up. And then we talk about the thing, which is pricey, but cool. And the thing is a pedal-sized, shaped, not priced mic preamp on the level, and that is one of the things that's really interesting, of Grace Design mic preamps. Now, once the word Grace, I'm like, wait a second, every company that uses Grace Design mic preamps boasts with, our thing has a Grace preamp, Grace preamp, Grace preamp. And then you look at these 500 units or the rack mount units or whatever, in these 8 preamps for thousands. This is high-end shit. So Grace Design makes high-end shit when it comes to mic preamps. It's among the best there is. Ask the studio people. But we're not studio people. I mean, maybe you are. And this, you can use this in the studio if you wanted to. But the pièce de résistance, the really cool thing about it, pièce de résistance is not really cool thing. That is the wrong translation. Look it up. Pièce de résistance. It's French from Canada. So, is that you can use, finally, maybe you could do before, mics on a pedal board in a live situation and run guitar or instrument or guitar, not instrument level. Instrument level is the line level. Guitar level, high Z, something, pedals in this. Let's see, show it. I'm not making myself clear. This is a mic preamp. It looks like a pedal. It has the ability to loop in guitar pedals, no reamping box, no any of that bullshit. And the benefits are mannigfaltig, as we say in German. Loads of them. Let me quickly show you the pedal. There's a mute switch, which can also go out of a special thing in the back to a tuner. So there's a tuner out right there, and it's actually going to my tuner. We're going to test this. This one, there's a smaller one, which can be powered by 9 volt. This one needs a biggie plug, but it runs on 110 and 240. There's a output to your DAW or front of house. We actually had it front of house yesterday with a band. I will show you that. So there's a 2 amp out if you're using an acoustic amp and you want to use this before your acoustic amp for your upright bass or your acoustic guitar. There's the tuner out, the loop in and out, and then the input. There's a phase reverse and a 48 volt down there. This is high-end shit. On the top, you can't really read that because it's this beautiful, super sparkly green. There's gain, which for condensers, I ran at, this is all clicky by the way, this is nothing. For condensers, the highest I ever had it was here, for singing or in front of a cab. But now we had it here because I'm using a dynamic with an acoustic, which is one of the reasons this was designed. You have a boost, and you can actually change this to not be the effects loop, but a boost, and then you hit it, and then you have like your solo boost if you wanted that. Effects dry and wet, which interestingly, even when the effects are off, this gets quieter in this direction. So be warned, I just figured that out. Even if the loop is not on, this is then kind of like a second volume kind of a thing. This is how much is going to your amp if you're using an acoustic amp or whatever amp you want. And here we have low, mid hertz from 175 there, you can see that, to 4K. Is that correct? Yes. So you can tune the mids, and then there's a high shelf. There's a notch in the middle, there's a notch in the middle, there's a notch in the middle. All this stuff is in no way lesser than Grace Design uses on their studio gear, which means what you're buying here, and this thing is not cheap, this is over a K. I think it's actually quite a bit over a K. Look it up, link below. What you're buying here is studio level shit, but to go, in a really small package. And that's awesome. Let me quickly show you something like a normal mic in front of it running into an interface. When I used it for the Ref D25 video, where I had the JZ microphones BB29 condenser, it's a nice high-end condenser, in front of the combo. I was running through this and I was doing nothing other than using it as a mic preamp. And I probably had it around here. The combo wasn't mega loud, but you know, condenser, loud amp, or amp. Here are some clips. Okay, that works, clearly works. Do I need that here? I have an Apollo that has pretty damn good pre's. Will I hear the difference? I will claim not to. This is super good, but does it matter? In context, I don't know. But you're a vocalist. You got this vocal mic in your hand. And you're always dependent on the front of house guy to give you delay, reverb, whatever effects he has. Usually it's not enough because they're very conservative. If anything, it's reverb. Will they have a delay that's tapped to your tempo from the song? Absolutely not. Will they pay attention to bringing it up or down? No. So you as a vocalist could actually have your own pedal board and now control with a looper switcher and all that stuff, your own effects per song. So on this little board here, I have, of course, what you use for vocals, a 385 drive for Morse Audio and the Galaxy tape delay from Universal Audio. So by clicking in this effects button, I'm bringing them in and then I can turn them on and off. And I will show you, let's listen to the full song. Why not? Rafael Cano's performance of Bitter Life, which is a live one take through live performance here in the studio, and he's running the board as he pleases.
There's a puzzle in my mind, and I like the final piece. Lost it on the way, a price I have to pay. Gotta read between the lines, there is no rest and no release till I've solved the case. Gotta save my face. I'm the leader of the blind, got my heart upon my sleeve. That's the major flaw, singing in my crowd. You catch me from behind, for my absence without leave. They will come when we're asleep, but I don't care. 'Cause tonight we belong. Now we live, not just survive. Drinking time, talking songs. It's tonight we're proving wrong that it's a better life. I came before the storm, my temptation to desert. You're the lullaby and my lonely nights, but your melody turns souls into emergency alerts. And I get what I deserve, but I don't care. 'Cause tonight
So yes, all the effects were coming from the board. There was nothing post-production. Isn't that cool? Let's hear some of those clips isolated, especially some of the reverb and of course the drive.
There's a puzzle in my mind, and I like the final piece, lost it on the way. A price I have to pay. It will come when we're asleep, but I don't care. 'Cause tonight we belong. Now we live, not just survive. Take me now, the time is now, the catch is now, don't care. Take me now, our time is now, the catch is now, don't care. 'Cause tonight we belong, now we live, not just
Yeah, you can do that. There's a lot more. Some things that you might not be thinking of. Of course, if you were a sax player, you can do that. Any kind of thing that you want mic'd, you can now add effects to your liking, you yourself, on stage, turn them on and off, done. On the side here, by the way, before I forget this, there is a little a mouse piano. There are some dip switches where you can determine whether this switch does boost or effects. There is a high-pass filter you can engage, whether you want it 12 volt or 9 volt, and then whether the DI out is mic or line level. Okay, let's quickly do this. Check out the EQ, which I really don't have any clips for. For that, I will need to hear what I'm doing, and I can't have the speakers on because feedback. The tuner out is also dependent on the amp volume. Here we go. Guess what? It works. So here's my pre. And that's a clicky, by the way. So it clicks up and down. The light turns red if it's too much level in there. With a condenser, you're gonna quickly go in the red, just be warned. This, by the way, the Halabiza QD. Don't need the boost, because it's switched to effects. So let's listen to the EQ. So you could probably filter out some unwanted frequencies if you wanted that, or make it nice and mid-Z. So you got a studio style EQ with your high quality Grace preamp. But of course the cool thing is I've got the Galaxy on, and I can just hit this, and all of a sudden I got tape delay. You can hear that on my voice right now. You might say, well, Henning, we can have guitar pedals with our acoustics because we can just plug them in. Well, that's if you're using a piezo, and that usually, even on high-end guitars, sounds like fucking ass. And something like this, you want mic'd. As soon as you're micing it, you're gonna have a problem with mic level into guitar pedals. This makes that so easy. But you could see my guitar was gone. Because this is still kind of active, even though the effect is off. So that's of course cool, and if I wanted to, I can turn on a drive. Obviously that is done. Huh? My voice sounds weird. But I mean, that's an effect right there. Come on! And again, don't think this is just for acoustic guitar. You can literally do this with anything that you can put a mic in front of. Now, here's something for you guitar players. How many, let me check if this is actually on my list here. Actually, before we go to the really cool thing that I think many of you guitar players will absolutely appreciate, let's check it out in an actual semi-live situation. I've got a band here in the Kubacher Hof, which is the hotel where all the YouTubers always stay for Gear Street. And the proprietor of the establishment has a cover band. And I went there last night to set up their new digital mixer. It happens that they had a bagpipe player, but that's just on the side. So I gave the new Lewitt W940 to Holger to test that, and I had this with me, put it on stage, and everything that you're hearing, effects, mic pre, everything is actually coming from that little board. So here's an actual band playing with this thing on stage. No audience, but who cares? Imagine we had a bigger board and more effects. Vocalists could go crazy. And should I bring that argument? I'll bring it at the end. Here's the guitar player perspective. You have one of those Marshall-y things with no master volume and they blast. Or you have a small amp, a 20-watt beauty like the AC20 from Morgan, or anything like this. Or maybe a Gremlin from Tone King. What a beautiful amp, but only 5 watts. Now, you're going to have to mic that anyway. And none of these have effects loops, which means once they're cranking and driving, putting delay and reverb on them is very difficult. Yes, you could get a very high quality analog delay, really make it dark, really roll down the mix, and possibly you could get cool sounds. But typically time-based effects go behind the amp. meaning, or behind the preamp, or behind where the drive happens. Now, with a non-master volume amp, the drive actually happens in the power stage, which means even if you had an effects loop, you couldn't put them in the effects loop because the power amp is driving, and then you have the same problem again. Your effects will be compressed and distorted. Now, how do you get a reverb and delay behind your cranked amp? Well, you're gonna mic it and you're gonna send it to the front of house, but we have the same problem. The front of house guy doesn't have your pedal board, doesn't control the effects when you need them controlled, doesn't tap tempo, and they don't have the really cool shit that you want on your board. Now, make a board, put all the in front of the amp stuff on there, then mic it with an SM57 type thing or an MTP 440 from Lewitt, run it into the Roxi, which is also on your board, and put the time-based stuff that you want behind the amp into the Roxi's effects loop. Therefore, you are supplying from your pedal board the effects to the amp. You will not be able to hear them in the speaker. That's not going to happen because it's not coming out of the speaker. You're miking the damn thing. But in your monitor speaker on stage, you could have them because you can have them fed from the front of house guy, or you're working with in-ear and then it doesn't matter anyway. So if you're one of these guys that has one of these really boutique-y kind of cork sniffer amps, I have a few of them, where you would like to control your own effects but you can't, this is the way to go. It's not an inexpensive way to go, but it's a cool way to go. I will show you this. I have the MVP 66 from Morgan, which doesn't have an effects loop. I'm driving that with an Origin Effects D something drive. And then I'm miking it, and I'm putting it through that board where I have the Galaxy behind it. And that can be recorded, meaning it can also be pumped into your wedge or your ears. That's what that sounds like. And there we go. These are only a few of the applications that are possible with something like the Roxi. But my argument to vocalists is, and listen to me vocalists, I get very pissed off about this. We show up with acoustics, we show up with piezos, we show up with pedal boards, we show up with cables and stands, we show up with cabs, we show up with Revs and Karl Martins and Friedmans and Soldanos. We spend our money. We have the guitar and drop D and the acoustic, I already said that. We have the 6th string, the 7th string. We bring 20 grand to the fucking gig. And then the vocalists show up and say, yo, front of house guy, sound guy, where's my 58? Drives me insane. Go buy your own microphone that works for you, that you spit in, that you control, and don't buy shit. Buy something good. If you get a Lewitt 950, okay, that's $800, but holy damn crap, is it a good mic? You've just heard it. And that also means, why can't you bring and control your own preamp so that you make sure that during the gig, it's not going through some crappy thing that the sound guy has? Or also, why don't you control your own effects? Have a nice tap tempo delay, have here or there some filter, some distortion, some fuzz, some flanger. Vocalist, you are not pulling your weight when it comes to bringing the gear. With this, you have no more excuses. I think it's way cool. Is it quite a bit of money? Yes. But it is studio grade stuff. Okay, Grace Design did not skimp out. Okay. Freaking tag that's driving me nuts. Grace Design did not skimp out on the components. It's all the components that's in their high-end gear. We have these beautiful rails here so you don't step on it. This is, from beginning to end, a pretty damn high-end thing. I actually was wrong when I said about 9 to 12 volt. I forgot one feature. Look on the side here. It actually has a 9 volt out. And I'm thinking this is probably what you can switch there. 500 milliamps, which means I'm a total idiot. I was powering my pedals with a Chox 4 under the board. I didn't need that. I could have actually daisy chained these two from here, which would have worked because it's analog and digital. Don't do 2 digital pedals. Which means you can actually power your pedals. It's got a built-in pedal power supply. I completely forgot about that. I'm sorry. So the price is going to shock you, but you heard what you can do. I'm giving you the choice with a link below. Thank you, Grace Design, for commissioning this video. I am happy about this. The Roxy is going to stay here, which means from now on, if it makes sense, I can actually show you pedals, reverbs, delays, whatever multi-effects with acoustic guitars. I could show them to you with vocals. The world is my oyster, as they say. And now, subscribe, bell, Patreon, buy my songwriting course, link below. It's good and you want it and you need it. I know you do. And animals at the end.